Hey guys, welcome back to Ironside Ranch, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I've got a baby over there. Our 2-year-old Vandelyn's out picking up the older kids, so I'm on baby duty. So if you hear noises, that's what's going on. But anyways, I want to talk today about what our process is here on the ranch. So we've had questions and people kind of wanted an overview, broad spectrum on how we raise animals and our general philosophy on it. So I thought I'd go over exactly what we're doing, let you guys kind of, and you see, tidbits on the videos and stuff like that, but I want to give you a broad overview how we raise our animals. Okay, when I say how we raise our animals, specifically what I'm talking about is beef and pigs. We haven't started doing commercial chickens yet. We're going to tamper with that a little bit this year, but we have not jumped into that full force yet, so I'm not going to go into that at all. But what we do is we raise everything on pasture, and we're very big on ethically raising animals, meaning that I want animals that are eating good quality foods, that are not being force-fed grains, that are not being shoved with a bunch of antibiotics, that are not being vaccinated and wormed with no cause or reason for it. So what we do is, sorry, thought he was dogging me. The way that we do it is we don't vaccinate unless there's an outbreak of some type of problem. We don't try new experimental vaccines on the cows. And if we get an outbreak of blackleg around here, we may decide to vaccinate, but we use a disease-resistant cattle that traditionally do not have problems with these things. So we've elected to not vaccinate our cows. And that may come back to bite us at some point in time. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means, but as a general rule, we feel like their immune system is strong enough that we shouldn't have to. And so if there's an outbreak of blackleg here, we will probably give them a vaccine. We will give them something like a tetanus shot when we do their castrations, simply because they get, they're prone to get tetanus around the rubber band. So they will get some level of medicine. They will also get wormed if we're seeing problems, like if we see bloat. When we had bloat come on those 2 cows, we knew that they had a bunch of worms, and that's part of what was causing that, so they got wormed, which means we give them a shot of ivermectin. But we don't regularly treat cows for worms because they're not wormy. And you always hear people say that, oh, nobody likes wormy meat. Well, first off, you don't understand the worms enough then, because the majority of the worms are not in the meat, they're in the intestines. And so you're not eating that anyways. But the bigger thing is we've had our cows fecaled, we've had them tested, we monitor their body condition and their coloring, and we don't have a problem with worms here. So we don't worm them unless we need to. When we need to, we don't screw around about it, we just treat them and move on. We constantly give them things to boost their immunity to worms. Their feed has diatomaceous earth in it. They're constantly fed things like pumpkin seeds. Gator, turn that down. Turn that down. Sorry about that. He's having some fun. Okay, so we don't generally let them play on the iPad this much, but when I'm doing something, I don't have a lot of options. Okay, so we don't worm them unless we need to, but when we need to, we don't screw around. We give them natural immunity boosting things, but we don't plan on that as our worming method. We rotationally graze them, we give them pumpkin seeds, we give them diatomaceous earth, all these things that are supposed to help. But it's kind of like a copper bracelet on your wrist if you have a bad wrist. It's not going to probably heal anything, but it doesn't really hurt anything either. So we practice good management principles, which keeps them from being in their own feces, which helps with those parasites. So the biggest thing we do is rotational grazing. That's what keeps it down. So we do the same thing with our pigs. Pigs are a little bit harder to rotationally graze. So generally, we give them a big area, and then we'll let them go through about a 1-ton thing of feed, and then we move them to a new area. So that's about the best option with the pigs. But the cows are easier to rotate every day. Pigs are a lot more work. So if we were farming full-time, it would be a different story. We are not, so we have to do it on a slower basis. Now, the cows are fed what is out there in the field. They eat the salad bar that's naturally available to them, and so do pigs. The cows and the pigs both will receive a supplemental feed. The pigs have to have it. If they don't have it, they'll end up breaking out the fences because they won't get enough nutrition in there, and they'll have to go kind of run wild to get enough nutrition for them. And so they'll get a supplemental feed. This is generally we do Tucker milling, although Hillsboro feed is now going to be helping us simply because they have a grain truck and Tucker milling doesn't. But the feed that we give them currently is a sunflower base mix It does have some milo in it. It has essential oils. It has diatomaceous earth mixed in there. It's got all sorts of other stuff in there. As a natural non-GMO feed, it is sunflower based, not corn or grain based. So that sunflower seed is where they get their a large percent of their protein. We buy a multi-purpose, a multi-species feed, so we can give that to the cows as well. It's got about, I think it's 16% protein content, where the traditional pig feed is 18%. But it's equivalent enough that it doesn't hurt our growing that much, and we raise our pigs longer than normal anyways. So the 16% feed works well. The cows will get some of that. We don't mess around again when we know cold weather's coming in, the cows need some extra calories. We'll give them that feed. We never guarantee that our cows are 100% grass-fed. That's why we're not going to get certified as grass-fed or anything like that. We're going to give them those, which, by the way, certified grass-fed can receive feed supplements, just so you know. And I'm just getting all kinds of interrupted tonight. I apologize. So they received this sunflower seed mix. Now, we do try to limit them. However, we are going to try a batch this year, and we're going to try to put a little bit more fat on them and get a little bit better marbling and a little bit more meat on them. And so the last 90 days, they're all going to receive a supplement of this feed. They'll still be rotated on grass. They're still not receiving corn or grain other than what's necessary to get them through the winter. Basically, our big thing is ethically raising the animals and feeding them natural feeds that they would eat. The corn is kind of misunderstood because everybody loves it. They want to force feed them corn, or people hate it and think corn is awful. Corn, the reality of it is corn is just like a candy bar. It's okay in moderation. It's when we start doing it too much that it creates some problems. We are going to plant corn out in our fields, and they'll be able to naturally graze on the corn. We're not going to plant any big cornfields necessarily, but we're just going to probably mix some corn seeds in with our grasses and allow that corn to come up, and they'll trim the tops off of it. Certain areas may grow enough that we even allow them to get the corn there. The actual cobs on it. So keep that in mind that corn is not off the table for us. We try to avoid it, and again, we treat it like a candy bar. It's okay periodically. It's not something we want in their daily diet. What we want the base of their diet to be is the natural forage that they get here, which is, by the way, what Florida crackers were bred to eat, right, for 500 years. When Ponce de Leon brought them over in 1521, that's what they have been bred to eat because they were released wild, and only the ones that could eat it survived down here. This is why these are the only cows that survive naturally in the South because our environment is hostile to cows. We have tons of parasites, we have swamps, we have low quality forage. All those things make it very difficult for traditional cattle breeds to do well without some type of supplement. So that's what we're looking at for the cows. And that's kind of our baseline. The pigs we treat the same way. We do give the pigs a atrophic rhinitis vaccine. The reason we do that is because that does come up here periodically. We don't raise a heritage breed pig. As a general rule, they may be crossed with heritage breed. We don't have any breed that we specifically raise because pigs are too hard to find down here. If I was in somewhere like Iowa where they have a lot of pigs, I could make a deal with a breeder and have those pigs every year. Down here, it's very difficult. We've also found certain breeds of pigs that we like better. We like Durocs and Berkshires rather than we like Hampshires because Hampshires grow slower. The meat doesn't seem to be as good a quality. The Durocs seem to taste a little bit better. And so that's generally what we look for. The ones that we're getting here in about 2 weeks to raise out for all that have ordered this year, those are a mix between a Hampshire and a heritage breed. And so those ones should have a really good flavor and just be very exceptional meat. We're looking forward to trying them. But we don't raise the same type of pork every year. What we found that creates a more consistent flavor is a consistent feed. That non-GMO sunflower seed we will never change from unless they change their practices. That creates the best pork that I have ever had, that my wife has ever had. It's just exceptional, and there's no comparison to it. That's all we'll feed them. We don't give them slop or scraps or anything like that. We compost that stuff and use it in the orchard. We don't feed it to our pigs. Our pigs get 100% whatever they can find out on pasture and non-GMO ground up sunflower seeds from Tucker Milling. So that's kind of where we're at with it. They will receive that one vaccine again because that does seem to be a problem down here, and because heritage breed hogs don't work very well. They get rotated, and our general rule for rotating them is as soon as if we can smell ammonia in the air, we're not smelling ammonia, we're smelling mismanagement, right? That's from Joel Salatin's book, and that's the way we look at it. So as soon as we smell it, we've used up the amount of resources in that area that can absorb that nitrogen and that ammonia, it's time to move them on. Now, when we start them out, pigs don't do well on pasture for the first couple of weeks because they're so small, they'll shoot right underneath those electric fences. So when we start them in a small area. Sorry, my phone's going crazy now too. It's just an unreal night, y'all. We start them in a very small, in a small pen that has woven wire all around it. It's got cattle panels up, so we can use it to put it to, if we need to separate a cow or something like that. And we're going to put them in there for about 8 weeks and let them get big enough, and they'll train to the electric wire inside there. Now, the way that we do that in that small area for 8 weeks is we do a deep bedding method. So every single day or every single week, we're adding carbon to that, usually some old worn out hay that's not good for feed. If we can get wood chips work even better. And we will build that up, and in about 8 weeks I'm going to have a layer of composted material about that thick. It's going to make great topsoil. We'll leave it in there for a little while, let it keep composting down, and then we'll spread it all throughout the orchard. So it creates great nutrition for the orchard, and it's multi-purpose for us, so it's a great option. So that's what we end up using to keep them in until we can release them out on pasture. Once we can release them out on pasture, we'll set them out. They'll have their fence around them, and they'll get moved every couple of weeks, about every 3 weeks until they go to butcher. We butcher generally in 7 to 8 months. I know most pig raisers do it in 6. We like our pigs to be a little bit bigger. We like a little bit more fat on them because we feel like it flavors the meat better, and it gives us some lard to process. Since we're selling to homesteaders and stuff like that, we want everybody to have the option of the lard to process. If you don't want it, no big deal. The butcher keeps it, and we end up actually picking a lot of it up. So it's not a problem, but that's what we like to do. Is we want to over deliver. Our goal is to not send pigs to the butcher unless they're at 300 pounds or above. Most farmers will send them at about 265 pounds, so we get a little bit more fat on them. And it's not 40 pounds of fat. It's going to be a good probably 20 or 30 pounds of meat plus 10 or 15 pounds of fat or whatever. Our average right now is 326 pounds. That's when they go to the butcher. So we do get our pigs just a little bit bigger for that reason. Now, we do always tell everybody we will send it to the butcher if it's at 265 pounds or above, because that's the industry standard, but our goal is always to have them above 300 pounds. So far to date, we have sent one that was below 300 pounds. He was 298 or 95, I can't remember. Anyway, so the pigs, they will receive their vaccine when they first get here on the farm. Other than that, they will get no medicine at all unless we have to treat an issue with them, in which case that pig will then go to the butcher and be processed for our feed. We don't sell that one. So that just goes to me and my family. It's not an inferior product, but because of our advertising on how we raise things, we don't like to give that to our customers. So that one will end up just coming back here to us. There's no taste difference or quality difference in it, but again, it's just mostly to stay truthful to our advertising and how we want to do things. Now, in the future, where the pig pen is now, the first 8 weeks they'll spend in there, and then actually what we're going to be doing is surrounding our entire orchard with a fence, partially to keep the deer out, partially to keep the pigs in. And that orchard, what we'll do is once the trees are big enough to withstand the pigs being in there with them, so about 3 or 4 years from now, they will be allowed to roam that area for a good 3 weeks after they leave the initial pen, before they get released out on pasture. They'll help fertilize our orchard, and that'll be kind of our operation. After that, we'll end up start running chickens through on chicken tractors to help clean up the manure, and follow kind of, again, the polyphase farm method on that. Chickens are not on the farm yet. This is just how we raise our beef and our pork. So I just wanted to go over the details with you guys and show you exactly what we're doing with it. If you have any questions, please post it down in the comments. I love talking to you guys and having those conversations down there. If you just say great video, I'm going to say thank you as an exclamation point. But if you ask a question, I try to get on there and actually write out an answer for you. So don't hesitate to ask. If it's too long for me to post down there, I'll probably just say I'll post a video on it, and it gives me great topics for it. So I love talking to you guys. Share the video. It does help us out a lot. Please, if you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, that's a huge favor to us. But I will catch you guys on the next one.